Well, this video is about basic fish cookery techniques. Sometimes in the sort of razzmatazz of a full-scale TV programme, I feel I overlook those basic principles. Frying, grilling, how to fillet a fish, how to cook mussels, those sort of things. And this is where you'll find them all. So this is one of those simple dishes that I was talking about, just moule à la crème. It comes from Normandy, and I've got here some shallots and cider, as it's Normandy, simmering away, and I'm just going to add a bouquet garni of parsley, thyme and bay leaf for a bit more flavouring. Basic way of cooking mussels, just in a little bit of liquid, white wine, cider, or just water if you're doing some other sort of dish. And the mussels I've cleaned. Now fortunately these days, mussels come very clean because they're grown on ropes normally and they don't pick up many barnacles. But if they do have barnacles, just scrape them off with a little knife and wash them in plenty of water and pull out the odd hair, or they're called a beard, or the technical term is a byssus, real sort of funny name that sticks the mussels to the rock. Just pull that away, because you don't want to eat that, and it's a bore trying to pick them out after the mussels are cooked. Pull them away and just pour all the mussels into the pan. Now then, just stir them around a bit and all those lovely aromatic juices. There we go. Just a little bit of black pepper I always like. There we go. Turn that around. There we go. And then the lid on. So you then leave them to cook for about 3 or 4 minutes. And it's very important that as the mussels start to open, you turn them over one last time and then take them out. Don't leave them to cook on. Once the shell is opened, they're cooked. If you leave them to cook on any longer, they become sort of rather tough and tasteless. So there we go. They're all nicely opened. So we'll just take them out with a slotted spoon. Take that out first of all. Turn the heat off because I don't want them to overcook at all. And just into that dish. Now then, just be careful when you're doing this that you don't put in any that haven't opened. Do you know what? I'm not totally sure about this, but most books say to discard them. Well, we don't know everything, do we? But generally, what I'm saying is, if any of them haven't opened at all, and as you can see in this batch they have, just chuck them out. And incidentally, while I'm saying this, when you buy mussels, it's quite common to see 1 or 2 of them just slightly gaping open, and that's perfectly all right, because it's only when they're really sort of open like that they're a bit of a worry. And also it's a good idea, if they are gaping open, just take the mussel and just go like that. And if it starts to close up, you know it's still alive and there's no worries about that. But, you know, I just think mussels generally are much less worried than people think. You know, people always think, oh, mussels are bound to get food poisoning from that. But, you know, they're clean little animals, really. So just get the last of those out. Smelling lovely. I love cooking mussels, and just the sort of one of those, dare I say it, tastes of the sea, which are... Right, now I'm just going to turn the heat back up and make a sauce out of the juice. Now, first of all, into that sauce goes some beurre manier. And beurre manier, we use it all the time in the kitchen. It's a mixture of softened butter and flour, rather more butter than flour. Don't want it too sort of stodgy. So that goes in there. I should have broken it up into little bits. That's what it says in all the textbooks, but what the hell, it'll soon dissolve. So you stir that in and just simmer it away for about 5 minutes, just to cook the flour out a little bit. And just stir that in and then add some creme fraiche. And this comes from Normandy. I mean, everything in this dish is right. It comes from the right part of the world. So in that goes. And just leave that to simmer away for about 5 minutes. And I'll just taste it now, just to make sure that the sort of seasoning level's right. Now, you have to be really quite careful with mussels, because depending on where they've been grown, sometimes they're extremely salty. If they've come from the sort of ocean beaches, they can be very salty little critters, but these aren't too bad. So I'm just going to add a little bit of sea salt here. Just leave that to cook out. Okay, so that's reduced down a little bit and nicely thickened up, coating the back of a spoon, as I always like to say. Finally, just some parsley, lots and lots of freshly chopped, finely chopped parsley. I always find it a bit difficult to sort of in the recipes to describe what I mean by a bunch of parsley, and in the end I came up with the idea of saying not a bunch but by the tablespoon, because you know, what is a bunch? Is it a little bouquet or is it a great big sort of, you know, massive bunch? So what I reckon is about 25 grams of bunch parsley makes about 3 tablespoons of chopped parsley. Try it. I've got it just about right, but this is 2 tablespoons. It's plenty of parsley. And that's just about it for the dish. Just pour that lovely sauce all over the mussels. So that's it, Moules à la crème, and I'd serve that up with some nice crusty bread and some, well, muscadet or some Normandy cider, I think. Right, well, this is doing a crab, and I really like actually showing people how to do something like this. In my TV series, I didn't get much chance because, well, mainly because there was more interest in the dog, it seemed to me. But anyway, now is my chance. So this is a brown crab, and it's a cock crab. The way to tell a cock crab from a hen, they've got bigger claws than a hen crab, and the tail flap is narrower. The advantage of a cock crab over a hen is you get more white meat for your money. They tend to be a bit more expensive, but they're easier to pick out. But occasionally, in season, and that's sort of in the autumn, a hen crab is a wonderful thing because you get this lovely red roe in the body section, which is delicious, but cock crabs generally are a better buy, I think. I just pull that tail off, and now pull the legs and the claws away. Now what I'm trying to do here is to pull as much of the legs and the claws away from the body as possible, because it makes it much easier to pick the meat out of the body section afterwards. See? Really sort of working a way to get those joints open. And even if I can't get the last knuckle joint out, I just use my crab pick to try and pull it out. See? Because when I come to do the body section, it's very easy to get in there with the sort of wide part of my crab pick. So pull away like that, same with the claws. Get some nice meat out of there as well. Other side, same way. Okay. There you go, and again you can see all the meat there, very easy to get out. Now to take the body section away from the back, which is called the carapace, I just get a knife and just drive it in just behind the eyes, just through the mouth, in like that, and then just twist. It comes away very easily. Just open it up to show the dead man's fingers. Now these are the gills actually of the crab. People often mistakenly say they're poisonous, but they're not. They're just, well, I always think them a bit like feathers. You just can't eat them. It's like eating bone. Now the first thing next is to get the brown meat out and look in the shell for the stomach first of all, because you don't want to eat that, believe me. If you see some of the crabs that I've seen brought up from the depths and seen what's in their stomach, you'd never want to eat that. It looks a bit like a polythene bag. So away with that. Just pull out any other obvious bits of feather and stuff that isn't edible, see? And the rest is. And I just weighed the crab with my hands at the beginning, and a crab should sort of feel sort of heavy for its weight. It should feel sort of satisfyingly heavy, because that means there's lots of nice brown meat in there. So just get a couple of bowls now, one for the brown meat and one for the white. Now then, I'm not going to use the brown meat in the next recipe, but it's worth keeping. It's delicious, it's lovely, and look at the way it comes away in great sort of, just put that up there so you can see it a bit easier. Lovely chunks. And one of the things I don't like about frozen crab meat, apart from the taste, is that it's always sort of mushed up into a sort of like paste. What I like in crabs, and I'm sure everybody else does, is that sort of chunkiness, and not only in the brown meat but the white meat as well. There's just a little bit more brown meat in the rest of the body section, which I'll put in with the rest of my brown meat and just get that out of the way. How do you crack the shell of a crab? Well, you can use, I'm dropping knives everywhere, you can use a hammer or you can use the back of a knife. Now, you may feel sort of more safe with a hammer, but actually it tends to break the shell up a bit, and so you get little filigree pieces of shell in your crab meat. If you can just get away with using the back of the knife and a sharp tap like that, you tend to be able to break the things away sort of easily. Now this is the best bit on the crab, I always think, just to get it out, just break that claw section away, just work this lovely chunk of meat out. Now then, just get my plate up here. The only rather sad thing, wouldn't that be nice if you could, that was one good bite, but there is actually a little sort of membrane running, or sort of very thin shell running down the centre of this bit, which you have to take out. See? So you just scrape that away with your crab pick, but you've still got some nice looking meat in there. And actually you can crack the rest of the claw in a similar sort of way. Again, just using, I sometimes use that bit, see? Like that. Watch your hands. Sort of thing I sort of dread doing on that other TV programme because, you know, we're always in such a hurry. It's no wonder I'd burn myself, cut myself, you know, but this much more fun. So again, I'll just do another bit of the claw meat there. Lovely big chunks of meat coming out. So you do the same sort of thing with the legs. I'll just do one for you because I think you can see what I'm at there. Let's take one of the legs. Now, I don't normally bother to go into these sections. You can if you've got plenty of time, but it's just that bit that I'm looking for on a crab like this. So again, just crack it gently. It's a bit of a knack, this, just getting it so that it splits open without too much shell. Okay? And just work your pick in there. Get out a nice big nugget of meat. Okay, there's a bit more in there, which I'll just use the other end for. Fine. Okay, now to the really difficult bit, the bit that nobody likes doing, but have patience. Oh, I just forgot. Do you see just in the end of the claw there's a little nugget of meat as well, so just work that out with your pick. See? It's good eating too. And now into this little bit. What I tend to do is to cut the shell in half and then cut it in quarters, like that, and then just take each quarter as it comes. First of all, go for the bit in the where the legs came out, as I said before. Just use the sort of spoon end of your pick and just work in there as sort of gently as you can, because the object is to get the meat out, but not get those little thin bits of shell out as well. And then just think of it as a sort of, I don't know, series of little channels, and you just got to pull the white meat out of the channels. There's enough white meat in a crab like this to make the next dish which I want to show you, which is a Timbale crab with a sweet and slightly sharp tomato sauce. And Timbale is just sort of posh word for meaning a little sort of mould of crab. For 4 people, you need 350 grams of white crab meat. You add 10 fresh basil leaves. Now they've got to be very, very finely shredded. 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, really good stuff, your favourite extra virgin oil. And now just 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. And you just mix that together carefully so you don't break up those nice lumps of crab meat, and you season with salt and pepper. Line 4 lightly oiled ramekins with a sheet of cling film. Spoon the crab mixture into each timbale and just take it up to the top and lightly press it down, not firmly, just lightly so that it holds its shape. To make the tomato dressing, you just saute off a little bit of onion and garlic in olive oil. Then you add chopped tomatoes and you reduce it down gently till it's very thick. Then you add what I call a gastrique, which is just a little bit of vinegar and sugar cooked down together and then just stirred in, which gives the tomato sauce a pleasing sort of sharpness, and you leave that to go cold. The dressing. You mix together 5 tablespoons of olive oil with 1 tablespoon of sherry vinegar. I don't like a vinegary dressing for that, so there's a lot of oil ratio to vinegar. And you just stir that into the tomato sauce and adjust the seasoning if necessary with salt and pepper, and black pepper in this case, I think. Then you turn each ramekin out onto a plate. Spoon little pools of dressing onto the plate, not all the way round the plate, and put a little pile of young salad leaves, baby salad leaves, and garnish the dish with some sprigs of fresh basil. And that's crab and basil timbales with a sweet and sharp tomato dressing. I'd like to show you how to fillet a flat fish. Now this is a lemon sole and look how beautifully fresh it is. First of all, before I fillet it, I just want to cut the fins off, show you how to cut fins off. Don't use a knife, you never get through them with a knife, but with a pair of kitchen scissors, dead easy, just cut all the way around as tight as you can to the body. Do the other side in exactly the same way. And while I'm talking about this, let me just say that this is how you trim a fish like a lemon sole for grilling. You deal with all flat fish in a similar way, turbot, brill, flounder, plaice, all much the same way. That's how you cut a fish for just simply grilling, nothing more than that. If you're wondering what to do with a fish of this size, when you buy it in the fishmongers, just bring it home, brush it with a little bit of butter, salt and pepper, under the grill, slice of lemon, absolute heaven. There you go. So now to fillet it. First of all, if you look down the middle of the back, there's almost a line. The fish is almost sort of telling you where to cut first of all. So you just get your filleting knife. That's a filleting knife. Nice flexible blade, pretty sharp. If you're going to do any work like this, you do need a filleting knife. You can't do it nearly so easily with anything else. Just cut down there, right down to the centre of the backbone. Okay, then just turn the fish over. Now, it's just very easy to do this. I wouldn't be showing you if I didn't think everybody could do it. But what you do need is good fresh fish because it's nice and firm and the blade of the knife just sort of glides through it with no problem at all. Just take the knife over like that, come out through, simple as that. When you're up to the top of the fish, make sure this side that you cut right round the head because a lot of people just leave that bit of fillet on the fish and it's such a waste, particularly when you get into a big fish like a turbot. With all fish it's just a little bit harder filleting the bottom two fillets from the top, or the bottom fillet with a round fish, because you haven't got the top fillet acting as a sort of cushion, but nevertheless it's still easy enough. Okay, now wouldn't you want to do something with that? Wouldn't you want to fry those or something, eh? Goujons are small pieces of fish, normally flat fish, cut into pieces about the size of your little finger. Actually, goujons gudgeons, you know, the little freshwater river fish. They're little cuts made to look like gudgeons. And they're dipped in seasoned flour and dipped in egg and lastly in breadcrumbs. And I've got some really nice breadcrumbs which actually come from Japan and they're called panko and they fry very, very crisp. But ordinary breadcrumbs are just fine for goujons. And then deep fry them in good, clean oil. I love deep fried fish, particularly lemon sole in little goujons. When they come out crisp, they taste wonderful. And what I also like is deep fried fish with some mayonnaise-based sauce. In this case, a homemade tartar sauce. You start with a well-flavoured mustard mayonnaise, and then you just add some chopped green olives, gherkins, capers, chives and parsley. And that transforms the mayonnaise into a perfect accompaniment. I'm really pleased to be able to show you how to deal with raw fish. In this case it's a round fish, a little bit harder than filleting a flat fish. And this one has got a lot of scales, the sea bass. It's a beautiful example there of a sea bass, lovely and fresh. First of all, with a sea bass, always a good idea just to take those fins off. Look at the spikes on that, eh? Don't want to be messing around taking scales off a bass with spikes like that. You find them sticking into your fingers, into your thumbs, all over the place. So just cut all those scales off first before you start doing anything else. Good pair of kitchen scissors, essential in all fish cookery. See, off they snip. So I'm going to fillet this fish, but before that I just want to show you how to get it ready for grilling whole as well. But without further ado, let's just get on and take some of these scales off. Now this is a really good scaler here. Somebody's just said it looks a bit like a sort of toothbrush, you know? Really get to grips with your teeth with that. And you work away from the tail taking scales off. The scales run that way, so you run against the grain, as it were. I always use newspaper to scale fish at home. At work we have a sort of wonderful fish sink to work in with running water all the time. It's a very good idea when you are actually scaling fish to do them quickly when you get them. Now at the same time as doing the scales, I'm also going to take the guts out. What we do there is we just start at the anal fin and just work through to the head. I'll see if I can do it so you can see it easily enough. Just go through with a knife like that, and just reach in and pull out all those grisly guts. So just wash that, get rid of the last of the scales and all that nastiness inside. So that would be ready to grill whole. You can stuff it then, the guts are all gone and it's all clean in there. But let me just show you how to fillet a fish. Just cut along the backbone of the fish with a knife, and as I said, it's a little bit harder than doing a flat fish, but not that much harder. Just cut through like that and just ease the knife against the backbone. Again, I'm using this sort of springy filleting knife, using the backbone as a sort of guide. You see? Then what I always do is just turn the knife around and run it against the backbone to take the fish away at the tail, like that, and then just cut through the ribs, and then just cut round the head, and you're just about there. So just turn the fish over and do the same on the other side. And as I said with the flat fish, it's a little harder on the other side because you haven't got the sort of cushion of fillet to help you when you're doing it this side, and you always find that you leave a bit more of the flesh against the bone, but don't worry about it, you're still going to be all right, you still have a nice portion. Now there's two nice fillets, and as I said, I always like to cut through the rib bones, because if you try and sort of cut away and leave the rib bones on, you lose a lot of valuable fillet. A lot of chefs, which erroneously I think, cut the gut cavity completely away from the fish. In other words, cut that away. But there's some good eating in that gut cavity, and I like to keep it. So that's how I like my fillet of fish to be, ready for grilling, frying, deep frying, whatever. Now these are 3 fish dishes using fillets. First of all, grilled red mullet with an aubergine and pesto salad, and I'll be showing you how to make this later on. Next, a gratin of seafood. You have fillets of fish and other seafood like prawns, mussels, scallops, and you mix them with a nice cheese and cream sauce and cover them with breadcrumbs and just put them under a grill or in an oven so they come out all brown and popping with flavour. And finally, hake and potato pie with a garlic, parsley and breadcrumb crust. Just hake with some soft potato and garlic and parsley, all cooked together with a bit of butter. And now for a salmon dish which doesn't need any cooking. It's marinated salmon with dill, or it's normally called gravlax in supermarkets and shops. What you want to do is get your fishmonger to give you a large piece of salmon and get him to scale it, wash it, and then take all the bones out of it. And you want a whole piece like this. The salmon halves are dry cured in a mixture of sea salt, sugar, lots of fresh dill, and I mean lots, and crushed white peppercorns. Pop the other one on top, and this is flesh side up and flesh side down. Wrap it up in the foil, and then weigh it down with some weights, and you can use bags of flour or anything like that, in a fridge, well, for about 2 days. And during that time, you need to open up the package, and you'll find lots of sort of brine that's come out of the fish, and you need to spoon that over the top just to sort of get it all flowing back over the top again. Now when you come to serve the fish, you slice it thinly, just like smoked salmon. And I think it looks nicest if you just leave the dill coating on when you serve it. And I like to serve it just garnished with a sharp and creamy horseradish and mustard sauce, and just a sprig of fresh dill. Now here's another classic salmon dish, and I'm really pleased to be able to do this one for you. This is poached whole salmon in a corbouillon. Now corbouillon is just a flavoured poaching liquid, and in this beautiful salmon kettle I've got carrot, I've got onion, I've got slices of lemon, peppercorns, bay leaf, white wine vinegar and salt. And I'm going to put this salmon on this sort of trivet, I think it's the right word, and drop it into that corbouillon. So I'm just going to bring that back up to the boil and boil it for 5 minutes, simmer it in fact for 5 minutes, and 5 minutes only, because if you leave it any longer it'll overcook and get all dry and boring, like the sort of thing you get at most wedding receptions, except yours, I promise. Okay, now let's just put that over there and make some mayonnaise, which is really one of the other jobs, like filleting, that I really enjoy in the kitchen. In there I've got some white wine vinegar, some salt and some egg yolks. Now there's nothing really difficult about making mayonnaise. I know people get very sort of nervous about it because it's one of those sauces like hollandaise which can curdle. But the secret of making good mayonnaise is first of all just to whip the egg yolks and white wine vinegar and salt together very thoroughly, and then just add the olive oil gently at first, just in a few drips at a time. Now this is virgin olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, which is very strong, and you may find that you don't like that very sort of pungent flavour of mayonnaise. I think it goes very well with salmon, because I just have this theory that a sauce should be a little bit over strong, because after all you always eat, you know, a big bite of fish with a small amount of sauce, and it just gets dissipated. And if you don't make your sauce nice and saucy, it won't sort of taste of much. So you just add a little oil at a time, just building up an emulsion. By the way, I do have to say this, that if you're sort of worried about raw egg, which mayonnaise is made with, do use pasteurised egg, which you can get quite easily now. So that mayonnaise is just about ready. It's all nice and thick and sort of almost holding its own shape. It's perfect. And the salmon's been cooking for about 5 minutes. So we just take the lid off, take it off the heat, and leave it to cool in its own juices for about 20 minutes. Then we just serve it up with some new potatoes, thinly sliced cucumber with a little white wine vinegar and some chopped mint. Grilling's one of my favourite ways of cooking fish. It's just so easy and simple. But one of the best fish for grilling is red mullet. It's one of those up-to-the-minute dishes, all healthy and Mediterranean. It's just dead easy to make. The red mullet fillets are grilled and then served on char-grilled aubergine slices, which have been spread with a coarse pesto. Then a smoother pesto is drizzled over the finished dish. Grilled red mullet with an aubergine and pesto salad. Well, I couldn't really finish without a Cornish pasty now, could I? And this is made with smoked haddock. And into the bowl, I'm just going to do the mixture. First of all, I put some sliced leeks and then some potatoes cut up into a dice, and then the haddock. And this is undyed smoked haddock. I always prefer the one without all that sort of lurid yellow dye in there. And this is actually local stuff from Cornwall. And a great big amount of beautiful clotted cream all the way from Cornwall. Look at that, eh? So in that goes. And then some salt, good sprinkling of salt, bearing in mind that the haddock is already salted, so you don't need to go sort of mad with that. And some pepper. And then just stir that around, and that's the filling. And the cream really makes it nice and sort of rich and moist. It really does work well. So I've actually bought in some puff pastry to make this pastry with. Very naughty of me, I should have made it myself, but you can get excellent puff pastry now. So that's ready to go into the pasty, and over here I've got the puff pastry discs. Just do one, get a bit of flour on the worktop there. There we go. Put that out of the way. Just get some of the filling in there. And one of the sort of things to know about pasties, if you're not very good at sort of sealing them up, don't put too much filling in first time round, because they'll only burst open in the baking. So there we go with the filling. And now we just join the two sides together, just pinch them together before you start the crimp. There we go. Then you just work from one end, just turning the thing over your thumb to sort of build up a quite reasonable join. Having just given it a bit of egg wash, pop that in the oven about 200 degrees centigrade for about 35 minutes. And when you bring that out, that'll be all lovely and brown and shining, and when you cut into it, oh gosh, that smell of leek and smoked haddock. Well, I really enjoyed that. I hope you did too, and I hope you try the recipes. As you can see, as long as you follow some simple, basic principles, there's nothing much to it. Give them a try.